Part 1. I am 45 years old. My wife is 46. We have been married for 21 years, been together for 25 years. We have 2 sons, a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. I took an Ancestry.com test, and it is likely that my 2 sons are not mine. This all started back in February 2020. We planned a trip to see my parents in California, my wife and my 2 sons. We booked the trip months ahead of time. Unfortunately, the pandemic happened, and we postponed our trip. We haven't visited the States for 9 years because we had money issues since August 2018 when my wife got caught up on a lawsuit in which she was a defendant along with a male work colleague. She was implicated in an embezzling scheme without her knowledge and went into deep depression as a result of it. At the time, she told me that she trusted a work colleague, not knowing that he was stealing from the company, and she was just caught in the mix of things. I didn't fully understand the extent of how she was betrayed by her work colleague and why she tried to settle to make the case go away. At the time, I felt like she was going above and beyond to cover for her work colleague. I tried to convince her to allow it to go to trial, but she was worried about it going public and was ashamed that she was blind to it till he got caught. When I tried to bring it up, she would cry and fall into deep depression, so I chose not to bring it up and believed her. She had to settle out of court for thousands of dollars, which we are still paying till this day. We had to borrow money and got into massive debt because of it. Since then, we haven't had any disposable income because we have been working to repay what she owed. During Thanksgiving, November 2020, we rebooked the flight to see my family and siblings in California. I grew up in California and my wife grew up in Spain. We met 25 years ago in Madrid, Spain during my international student exchange program. She grew up in Madrid and her family is from there. Her English wasn't as good at the time, but we immediately became best friends and started dating. After Thanksgiving dinner with the whole family, including my sibling and my nieces and nephews. When we were in the living room playing games and watching sport on TV, an advertisement for Ancestry.com came on. I remember my brother casually suggesting that it would be nice for him to get one to know our family lineage. It was one of those drive-by conversation, and it wasn't something that everybody took seriously, and the topic didn't go anywhere. However, when we were in bed that night, I told my wife about my desire to get one of those Ancestry.com kits for myself and get a kit for my sons as well, and I suggested that my wife get one as well so she wouldn't feel left out. I remember that she was adamant and strongly advised against it. Mind you, I was more focused on the health part and family lineage, not the paternity aspect of it. She was pretty set against it, saying that if there turns out to be something wrong with their health, she doesn't want to ruin their lives. She also said that it was a US-based company, and we are leaving for Madrid the following week, so we may not be able to get the result in time. I knew we have enough time, but I didn't want to make a fuss about it. Her adamant refusal for our kids to get involved didn't ring any alarm bell. We went to bed thinking that I wouldn't go through with it. The following day, I ordered the kids for me and my sons anyways, without my wife's knowledge. Kits arrived, we collected samples and mailed them while on vacation in the States. Kid number 2 sample was a tad incomplete. He was fuzzy and filled maybe 2/3 of the tube. Other than that, everything looked good. My D-Day. Few days after we returned back from the States, kid number 2 results arrive. Have a look at them, don't see anything weird ancestry-wise, results as expected. Have a little fun with the app, turn on DNA Relatives Discovery. It takes a couple of minutes to build a list and see he matches with 1,500 people. The highest match is a measly 0.76%, very distant cousins. Don't recognize any last names on the list. Think nothing of it since, like I said, DNA fun tests are not a thing around here. A short while later, my results are in. Have fun with the ancestry part. Kid number 2 composition is consistent with my results considering his mom is mixed. Check out haplogroups, relief. We match paternal haplos, as we should, right? Turn on DNA Relatives Discovery, immediately gives me 5,000 matches, with the highest one being a second or third cousin at 6% match. Where's kid number 2? I recognize a bunch of last names on the list, but where the hell is kid number 2? A bit of digging around in the app and finally found the place where it directly compares us, 0.06% match. My heart sinks. My stomach sinks. I start crying. I spent the rest of the night trying to figure out what just happened here, looking into ways this could be wrong. Where I am now. 4 days later, I haven't talked to my wife yet. I was waiting for kid number 1 results to either confirm or deny the discovery. If he matches me and his bro as half-sibling equals mom has had an affair. If he matches bro as a full sibling but not me equals mom has had a long-term affair. If he matches bro as half-sibling but not me equals mom is a serial cheater. And the hopium, 1 in a million result, kid number 1 matches me but not bro equals there's something iffy on Ancestry. Comes part or at the hospital. Over the past 4 days I've been feeling like SHT, cycling between deep sadness, anger, denial, hope, hopium, numbness, rationalization. The list goes on and on. My world has been shattered. I'm empty, I'm lost in all this while trying to keep things semi-normal at home and work. My wife knows something is going on. She looks concerned about me, but thankfully, and since my past dealings with anxiety and depression, she believes it's that and knows not to nag me and try to make me talk while in such an episode. She's giving me some space since I told her I think this new generic Lex is not working as it should. I feel like that 90s movie The Truman Show with a key difference. He started having doubts about the world around him, started digging, and eventually found out he was living a lie. Me, on the other hand, was happily asleep in a beautiful dream when suddenly got hit with bat, waking up in severe pain and realizing it was all a dream and my reality is an effing nightmare. That's the thing with Pandora boxes. Once open, they stay open. I haven't opened that report yet. I'm scared, terrified to be honest. At the moment I got a Schrödinger cat. As long as that report stays unopened, it's both true and false at the same time, whatever I want to believe. That's hopium right there. I know, I'm a man of reason and logic. I don't know what to do. At times a part of me says forget about this, work on pretending you never saw it, and take it to the grave. Then I realize I can't really do that, it would eat me alive. Then I think I should gather more info before confronting her, get some 1 to 2 hours alone with her phone to dig both recent and old logs and chats. I know for sure I don't want to have the talk with the kids anywhere near, and that window will open next weekend when the kids stay at my MIL's home for our regular us time. The main 2 feelings I've been cycling through are intense sadness and disbelief. Disbelief fuels hopium. This cheating scenario makes no sense. How? Why? It contradicts everything I think I know. Our relationship. We've been together for 25 years, married 21 years ago. Our kids are 7 and 11. The kids were not a random act, they were both planned. Some 12 years ago we started talking about having kids, about being ready. After the first month without a positive result, we went to the doctor just to check, a few tests, and it turned out I have a low count. Doc gave me some vitamins, asked me to lose some weight, and assured us we should see a positive result in a few months. We started tracking her period, basal temp, ovulation strips, you name it, and sure enough, 5 months later we were pregnant with our first. A few years after our little guy's birth we wanted our son to have a sibling, so we decided to go for kid number 2 after kid number 1's 3-year birthday to give him a companion, a buddy you know? Same drill as before. Tracking, ovulation strips, planned SX, and a couple of months later a positive test. I went back and read 7 years worth of chat logs, emails, pictures, social media posts, and I see no indication of anything wrong between us. Even around the estimated conception date for kid number 2, all I see is normal happy messages between us, pictures of us, our kid, our dates, all going back and forth, going out plans, vacations plans, everyday life message. All good. And here's the thing about my wife and our relationship. I didn't just marry an attractive woman. I married my best friend, and I don't type that lightly, I mean true best friend. We dated since we were in our early 20s and did almost everything together. Our relationship has always been characterized by our ability to chat, to always have something to talk about. We have long, deep convos in the kitchen while sipping wine. We have silly convos every time in between. We do everything together. We seldom go out without each other, and when we do, it's always regular things like brunch with the girls, a bar with my friends, and these things happen no more than a few times a year, and there are always pictures of it and social media posts. We laugh, we joke, we have a good sex life. She slaps my butt while I'm doing the dishes. Other times she hugs me from behind and kisses me. You know how it goes. We have regular dates. We go out with and without the kids. We built a home together. She's a devoted Catholic who drags me and the kids to church most Sundays. She's loving, caring, attentive, and supportive. And I do my best every day to correspond her in the same way, always have. As far as I know, it has always been us. And our relationship has been all these things for the past 20 years. There was never a drift apart time. I never had a hunch, a feeling something was off. Never. She's this kind of person who takes great care of both her, our kids, and my public image. I've always nagged her about her constant "what are people gonna say" think worries. And I could go on and on about the good stuff. Sure, it sounds perfect, but nothing is. We sure have had our fair share of fights and disagreements over the past 25 years. Every couple does, but I tell you, life with my wife was pretty darn good. And that's why I cling to hopium. That's why I find a cheating scenario with a got pregnant result so hard to believe. Makes no sense, contradicts everything I have seen, felt, and experienced with her over the past 25 years. Did I marry a sociopath? Is my compass that broken? What the F? What's next? I don't know what to do, how to proceed. To be honest, I wish I was dead. If it turns out to be true, which is the 99.99% scenario, I can't even begin to describe how world-shattering that is. On Monday, I had a perfect life. A few hours later, I lost everything I have ever cared about. This being true means I got nothing. I'm empty. If it weren't for the kids, what would be the point to carry on? And while I wait and see, I look at my wife, and she's the same person she was on Monday, has the same qualities I typed above. I'm the one who's different now, the one who's changed. I'm effed, completely and royally effed. Got no one to talk about this, no support system outside my wife who's at the core of this mess. I'll stop now, this is already way too long. Thanks for reading. Hey all. First things first, I want to thank you all who gave a reply to my original post. Even though I didn't have the mental clarity to reply, I appreciate each and every one of your heartfelt replies, insightful experiences, and support notes. I'll break my update into 2 or 3 separate replies, this first one as a general update and the following ones as specific wisdom advice seeking and general rambling. I'm sorry for the way too long messages, I still find writing this cathartic. Edit to add, regarding the replies insisting on making a second test before confronting my wife, I get what you mean, I really do. But here's my reasoning. I intend to start the conversation calm, just mentioning I got the results back from Ancestry.com and that there's some weird result. It says I'm not the father of the kids. The next 10 seconds will dictate what happens next. She starts crying or stays in shock without saying anything equals no further testing needed. She starts crying saying it can't be true equals no further testing needed. She starts crying or whatever and says it can't be true because I have never cheated equals that's good. Should we retest to see where things went wrong? She agrees equals that's even better. She disagrees equals I'm in an even worse position than I thought. Some more background. Back in early 2009, she took a managing position at small distribution company. It was a good salary increase with some new challenges at a troubled company. From what she told me, the work environment was extremely toxic, finances on shambles, and people fighting over peanuts. However, a new president of the board with the promise of change made my wife happily accept the offer. While at this job, she was making 30 to 40% more than I did. We have always had joint finances. She has this outgoing, happy personality. People often confide her with overly personal details. She's the kind of person who knows the supermarket cashiers by name, how many kids they have and to which school they go, their marital situation, etc. So naturally, while at this job she made friends, some 5 to 6 females and 2 males. From the males, one was a subordinate on her team, the other a colleague. I'm 99.9% sure the other man is one of these two. Over the years, she mentioned overly private details about the lives of her work friends. It didn't activate my spidey senses then because she also casually shared as much and equally private details about the lives of her female work friends too. Had I read Shirley P. Glass' book, I might have had an opportunity to intervene, since now it's crystal clear she has always had trouble establishing boundaries. It never felt focused on someone in particular, obsessive, or even constant. Just short comments here and there over the years. She left the job around 2018. She left there very hurt and damaged. Wasn't the only one. Most of her team was either fired or quit, with lots of other department heads getting fired or quitting too. The organization was worse than ever. I know this for a fact because of my old connections from my consulting days there. Starting in 2014, she took a job at the kids' school, taking a 60% salary cut, but with a great work environment. She's very happy there. It was like being a stay-at-home mom while getting paid for watching the kids from a distance at school. It made sense for us since by then I was already making a lot more. And I kept making more. Today around 90% of our combined income comes from me. This is kind of new for us since for most of our lives together we had been making around the same +-20%. The report for the other kid. Bad news for me. Kids match as 100% brothers with me nowhere to be seen. Wife has had a long-term affair. The odds of this being false are in the 1 in a trillion range since my report is filled with recognizable family names. I opened that report last Friday night, was half drunk. The wife was already asleep and half drunk too. I don't think it's necessary to tell you how I felt. I had to go with her phone, was the only device left to check, and spent over 3 hours with it. The next morning, I was oddly calm, like zoned out. A zombie maybe? It was a very weird detachment sensation. Thought about confronting her then, but decided it was not a good idea considering we had to go pick up the kids at my MIL's house just a couple of hours later. Actual, proven findings from checking on her devices. Over the past couple weeks, I had remote access to her work PC. There she has her Google account logged in Chrome. Checked our family laptop and by the end of the week her phone too. I checked around 18 months worth of browser, YouTube, and Google search history, around the same amount of geolocation history, her current work email, new personal email, FB, WhatsApp, call logs, SMS, an old personal email to which she lost her password years ago but it's still accessible on her phone, contacts. No weird apps on her phone either. I conducted several search strings, names, email addresses, etc. Her main means of communication are WhatsApp and FB Messenger. I couldn't find any evidence or even suggestion of a current affair going on. Everything I saw suggests she has been affair-free for at least 2 years, possibly 3 to 4. Makes sense considering the new job and later pandemic lockdowns. What I don't have access to is her old job email account and WhatsApp history from that period. I know for a fact that she used her old work email for both personal and business-related stuff. Unfortunately, I will never have access to it. That's forever lost. As for WhatsApp's old history, here's the weird thing, there's nothing regarding her old job. Nothing. No messages with her secretary, no work friends message, no work groups, nothing. Like it never happened. Just old work people history was deleted. Some circumstantial evidence. If at some point things ended with the other man, I would understand that chat history to be gone, but everything else on WA too. I know she left that job devastated, so maybe that's the reason she deleted everything and focused on forgetting a pretty bad work experience. I don't know. Would be cool to have access to that chat history. I'm still researching as there might be an old backup on iCloud, who knows. On FB Messenger I found a chat with one of my 2 suspects, the subordinate. The chat starts a couple of months after she left that job. Paraphrasing, his message goes about him apologizing to her and blaming himself for the havoc that went on in the office in the months before her quitting. She didn't respond. He sent another message a few days later insisting and excusing himself, saying he's sorry and that he misses her. The tone is of two very close people, but unsure and inconclusive if lovers level close. She goes on to say mistakes were made, how it wasn't his fault, how she got hurt and betrayed by many people over there, and that she's already forgiven and working on healing herself. They say I miss you to each other. He goes to say he's happy she's recovering, prays for her and her family, etc. A few months later there's a message from him saying sorry for calling you so late on a Sunday night, then goes on to talk about finally splitting with his wife, she not wanting to know more about him and his suspicions of her having somebody else. He sends her screenshots from messages with his wife, rambles about not knowing what to do and how devastated he feels and asking my wife for advice. My wife gives him advice. A year later a Happy Mother's Day message from him and her corresponding reply. The last message was from some 18 months ago by my wife sending him one of those generic prayer images and him thanking her. If this guy is not the other man, he sure as FK knows who it is. More on our relationship. My wife is still all those things I said about her on my first post. I can see that clearly. These new discoveries don't change that, they add to her, if it makes any sense. She's all that I typed earlier plus all this new sick, disgusting new to me side. That F's with my mind pretty badly. On one hand we have a great loving relationship, on the other I know she has done the unthinkable to me. Part of me says don't make any rash decisions yet, hear her out and decide what's next on a day-to-day basis. After all, just a couple of weeks ago I was in bliss. Then the next hour I get angry and get mind movies and triggers and remember this was going on for years and she infected my happiest memories, leaving me empty, losing the only defining thing I had going on for me. How could someone ever forgive that? How could I ever recover from that? Update 2. Digging deeper within me, state of mind and general rambling. Back in late 2009, early 2010, we had a rough patch. Lots of fighting, disagreements, financial problems, family problems, you name it. At some point during that time, I remember her giving me the infamous "I love you, but I'm not sure I'm in love with you anymore." We decided to make an effort to fix us, and eventually things were back on track by mid-year. Then, in 2018, the lawsuit and her work-related stuff took a toll on our relationship, financial problems, depression on wife's part due to the betrayer that she chose to talk to the therapist about and not me. Things got better and better as time progressed. 2021 was our best year to date. Now I know better. The emotional affair probably started around that time, making the long-term affair at the very least 5 years long, most likely anywhere from 5 to 7 years long. This is from one of our usual long talks in the kitchen from a couple of weeks ago. Me, do you love me? Her, with all my heart. If it weren't for the kids, I would give my life for you. Me, since when do you love me? Her, laughs, well, since we started our relationship 25 years ago? Me, LOL, let me rephrase that question. When did you realize it was forever, love of my life, always together love? Her, tells me, with extreme detail, a moment from 2010, when we were working things out from that bad patch mentioned earlier. Problem is, at that point, she was probably already having sex with the other man and just a few months later procreating their first son. This gem from my WA logs, random weekday, mid-morning. Her, do you ever feel like I don't love you? Like I don't give you enough attention, don't hug or kiss you enough? Don't tell you I love you enough? Me, WTF? What are you smoking? Where is this coming from? Her, was just talking with female work friend, divorce is for real this time. Her husband says that in part it's because he doesn't feel loved anymore, that she only has time and care for their kids. Me, you are crazy. We are good. I love you. Her, I love you too. Whenever you feel I'm not there for you, please let me know. That was just 2 months before kid 2 conception. And just like those two, I have dozens of written examples and many more in my memory. How sick can someone be to pull this off? Makes no sense to me. Why didn't she divorced me back in 2010 if she was already with someone else? How can someone be this kind, caring, loving, and connected person with her hubby while also being involved in a full-fledged extramarital affair. Mind-boggling. Last Saturday when we went to pick up the kids at my MILs, I realized it was the kids what hurt me the most. Until then I was spaced out. When we arrived at the house, kid 1 sees his mother, waves at her. Then sees me, gets up, walks to me, hugs me, and says, "I love you so much, Dad." That moment right there felt like 1,000 knives going through me. I had to excuse myself, claiming I forgot to pick something up at the pharmacy. Spent the next 60 minutes crying like a baby at a Walmart parking lot. Once back at our house, the kids were playing and constantly saying, "Hey Dad, look at this, Dad, check out this trick, Dad, 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 Dad." Every time I heard that word was a punch in my stomach. Cried a lot more after everyone went upstairs. Things have gotten progressively worse since then. I started getting triggers and mental movies. Everywhere and everything brings them. Pictures, Facebook memories, real memories, places, every corner of the house. I realized the only memories that are not triggering me right now are the ones with me and the kids alone. Every other memory or picture involving my wife gets instant poisoned with the "look how happy we were" looked. She probably banged other men, talked SHT about me earlier that day, others go, and these are the worst. She was probably wishing the other man was there instead of me. About the mind movies of them together, I just can't stop them. I've tried suggestions found both in the frequently asked questions and elsewhere online and just can't. The movie is playing in the background, in the corner of my eye, on loop. Even while focused on typing this thing, I can see it there, just slightly out of my mind frame. I'm a family man. Everyone who knows me knows my main focus for my entire adult life has been my wife and kids. I'm pretty much screwed because whenever anyone has dared to ask me which is the happiest moment in your life, they always get the same response: happiest day, when kid 1 was born; second happiest day, when kid 2 was born; third happiest day, my wedding day. I remember each of those days like it was yesterday. And whenever someone dares to ask, "And after that? What's your happiest memory after that?" I go blank. I have nothing, nothing comes even close, and trust me, I have given a lot of thought to this. And now those 3 days, life-defining days, are poisoned with the aforementioned triggers and mental movies. And the doubts and questions are getting worse by the day. Yesterday, I woke up thinking, did she bring him here? To our house? Did she bang him on this bed? And with such a LTA, it's entirely possible. I'm fearful now. My mental state is getting worse by the day. I try to do the recommended stuff. Even though I can't eat much right now, I make it a point on it being good food. I have been taking long daily walks. I have been researching on grief, betrayal, and trauma. Started meditating again, etc. Still, I'm getting uglier and uglier questions and doubts each passing